Hello to the TOC meeting, 28th of January. We have our usual agenda today, checking the action items from last week. We will get an update from the Paketo working group, review our dashboard with the PRs and issues, and talk about any other business. So the action items from last week, we had one action item. It was for me. It was about checking with our internal folk working in the service management working group, whether they have interest to take lead role in that working group. So I checked with them. They are not involved at the moment with any of the projects there. That's why they don't have interest. They also agreed to archive the Service Fabric repositories now, which was open as PR last time. Okay, any questions, anything? And we can proceed with the working group update of Paketo. Thank you, Forrest, for joining the meeting. So the floor is yours.
Awesome. I did this last time, and I've completely already forgotten what I did last time. So I'm just gonna rattle off what the last sort of meeting minutes were, and they've been the last meeting minutes for a couple of months now, and sort of talk about ways that the project is moving. In the last meeting minutes, the main RFCs that are up right now are focused around multi-architecture build packs. If you'll recall, that was the focus when I was here last time. It turns out it's hard. We're continuing to do our multi-architecture work. I believe, though, Java is completely done. You can run your Java apps on multiple architecture builds and workloads. I think that there's still some stuff that I personally would like to see done around the edges inside of C and B when it comes to potentially building like manifested multi-architecture apps and all that jazz. So I think that's something that we could look for. But when it comes to the actual build packs, they can run on Arch natively, and they can run on or I said Arch, ARM natively, and they can run on AMD 64 natively if you're running a Java. And Node is currently a pretty deep work in progress, and that's the next one up. We have some library alignment stuff that is coming up, although every time it comes up, it is something that lots of people say that they want to do, and then when we talk about putting together a POC, lots of people wanting to do it kind of fizzles out. So we'll continue to work on it and see how it goes. And there's a lot of discussion about how we support our stacks, although they're not really stacks anymore. So how do we support a base OS image? And in particular around there's a desire for us to be more tucked right into with what Ubuntu is releasing upstream. So as Ubuntu releases new OS, like stable OS versions, so every 2 year, we want to be trying to get those out and actually get our build packs onto those as fast as we can, just to sort of prevent any lag and I think the idea is to prevent lag, obviously, but also to hopefully try and encourage users to upgrade their systems by sort of making it less painful, by making the jump less big, if that makes sense. So if you're upgrading every 2 years and you just get into the cadence of that, and in fact, the way that everything is working, it's actually easy to just go, like, you actually don't care about the underlying stack. That's kind of what we're hoping for. The problem that we're facing with that is that it's going to create a lot of sort of engineering overhead. More stacks equals more stuff that we have to release. So we're trying to come up with some ideas around that as well. And then the other thing that might interest this working group is there is a proposal to manage project status. So we have our open source base has shrunk a little bit over the past year or so, and that comes to people leaving companies that were working with us and not being able to work on the project as much, etc. So we're trying to do an audit of our projects and see what's currently still, I guess, up to snuff and what is what do we put in our sort of fully supported category? We have people actively working on this every day. What do we have in terms of this is maintained? It's sort of reached a point of maturity where new features are not a thing that need to be added, and we're sort of in maintenance mode. And what is, potentially something that we need to either downgrade and say, like, this is not something that we are working on, and, let the community know about that so that they can either not care or care a lot, and then we can evaluate that. And just being more transparent about the state of maintenance in our project is something that we're working on. And then the last thing that I see on this list is a proposal to add a stack, moving UBI, which has been a community effort from some folks at Red Hat into the main project and having support for it. So those are the big things, and those are the big things we've been talking about for a couple months now, because those are all sort of large chunks of work and sort of discussions about how we want to manage the project and what we want to do in terms of that sort of work. And that's pretty much it. I don't know that I have anything to add to that, because I think that would, funnily enough, last week's minutes were a pretty good slice of the stuff that we've been talking about since I think I last talked to y'all, 2-3 months ago, somewhere around there. It's also been a bit of a quiet 2 or 3 months, a lot of holidays in and out, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Are there any questions? I would have some on the stack ideas. I think will be good also if you find a way to update the stack more often. Maybe on CloudFoundry side, we can also profit from that. Or I think it will be something good also for the classic build packs to have to adopt the stacks as often as you can, the new Ubuntu releases.
Yeah, I think that we've done quite a bit of, or at least I've done I'm more well acquainted with what it takes to roll new stacks for the V3 architecture, or I guess, yeah, like the cloud native build pack architecture. And so I'm much more familiar with that, and so I can be confident in that. But I know that, like, sort of there was a big sticking point from FS2 to FS3, and I think that we did a lot of learning then and said, like, all right, this can't be the same thing next time that we do this. And so hopefully it is less painful. I'm not going to say that it won't be zero painful, but hopefully it's less painful. And I think that it's an interesting thing to discuss, like, in terms of what stacks should, like how should the stack rollout work for classic build packs, mainly because of, like, how the stack actually gets injected inside of a classic build pack build is pretty different, and how it's, like, supported is pretty different, I think, between the two. So I would be curious to hear about that a little more, but I don't know that I disagree with the idea of newer stack equals more better.
I think this year most probably work will be done towards Ubuntu Noble support a stack. Maybe then some exchange could be done between the work between the CNBs and the classic build packs. What in that area could be beneficial, I think.
I mean, I guess in full transparency, we have already spun up sort of a test bed stack for Noble, and a good number of languages are kind of cool to just roll on it. But we've also taken a slightly different approach to how we do dependencies in cloud native build packs. I'm not not relying more on, but like utilizing actually like sort of pre-compiled bits from upstream sources. So like, Go and that sort of thing. They compile the bits for you. I trust Google, a fair amount with that. So um, that's not quite the same based on like the sort of state of the world when, classic build packs were rolling out and we had to do a lot more compilation of bits. Um, so I think that we will be able to learn some things in some respects, but I also think that the process is going to be slower and more deliberate in classic buildbacks, basically regardless.
Yeah, and the second question, or maybe for your information, we are discussing at the moment how we can extend our automation for the CloudFoundry organization to support more orgs, GitHub orgs, than just the CloudFoundry org. This is driven by the Concourse, creating a new working group for Concourse, and the fact that the repositories are in different GitHub organization. Maybe it's interesting also for the Paketo working group, because we are with the automation, we are keeping track of active repositories, active approvers, and archiving repositories, things like that. In case.
Yeah, I guess I would want to know what kind of automation is coming in for that. If it's like tracking, I guess hooking that up would be. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to say anything. I think that there would be that would be something that I would want to take to like the working group and discuss with that. If it
Yeah.
came to like any more specific automation, our automation is pretty. I don't know how to say this. There's a lot. There's a lot of automation that we do. Build packs is mostly about releasing an automation. So we have a pretty
It's
strong groove for that. And I assume that that's not what you're talking about.
it's or automation of the access management in the organization,
Okay.
right? So it's basically contributors, it's teams, we have some automation that like keeps track of if people have contributed in the last year, right? If they are inactive, create a PR saying like we're gonna remove these people, and then like they can say, oh, but I want to keep staying here, right? So we have like it's mostly around that, like bookkeeping stuff.
Yeah. In that case, then I will definitely bring that to
Yeah.
the steering committee and the working group.
Yeah, I think the part I appreciate the most is like there's just the YAML file of approvers and the teams get automatically updated based on that. And so let's say someone went in and made themselves admin out of band, like it will get erased within a few hours and there's not this proliferation of random one-offs with access to things.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It'll be something I bring up.
Well, that's actually a feature because on a couple of occasions we need temporary like admin like elevation and like we were just giving like admin to the person like for until the next run of the pipeline. I mean, I'm not saying like this is the right way to deal with that, but it's also like for some cases helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if the roles don't like match up to what you need, we have overrides, like the ability to do overrides, right? Like, for example, we still have some teams that are created through a config file for certain like CI needs, right? Because something needs to be owned by multiple groups or something.
Sure. The only thing I would surface here is that we have like a pretty wide structure. So like every individual language family has its own individual team that has an access control to it, to allow us to sort of like if you want to contribute to buildpacks, you don't have to contribute to the world. You can just contribute to Node because all you care about is Node or whatever.
We have the same. So we have like working groups, and then in a working group we have areas, right? So an areas can have their own. I mean, maybe show an example.
Yeah, I was going to show an example. Let's say like.
So that's the one working group with only one area.
Gotcha.
Really good example.
Yeah, that I mean that sounds like it would be something we'd be interested in.
Like here with the build packs, maybe this is looks familiar.
It's basically the exact same workflow on the other side. So yeah, I would be interested. I think that is something we'd be interested in looking into.
Well, it doesn't exist yet. We just want it to exist.
Oh, okay. Cool. Then I will incept the idea for when it does exist, and
we're currently reviewing this because of the donation of Concourse to the foundational infrastructure, or not foundation, to the CloudFoundry Foundation, right? So we will have multi-org after that. I mean, we already had with Paketo, but it was not being managed. So now we like to extend the management, and then makes sense to also take Paketo into scope.
Well, I guess let us know.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. If there is interest, then you can reach out to us, to TOC. Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions? No. Then thank you, Forrest, for joining and for the update.
Thanks, Forrest.
Yeah, no problem.
We can proceed with the next agenda point, the dashboard. Yeah. Here's the concourse proposal. What is now the next step here? I walked through the change. It looks good from change perspective.
Yeah, do we first need Amelia's RFC to be merged or approved? Like, because that seems like a bit of a dependency, right? Because for the multi-org stuff.
For the automation.
I think that Amelia's RFC is more about like updating our RFCs to, I don't know, take into account the existence of multiple orgs. I mean, we already had that situation, but like the language was not like, I don't know, in line with that.
Maybe one point we should also add the repositories really one by one, which because that's the real work what you have to do. What is actually part of Concourse working group and whatnot.
Oh yeah, the definition, yeah, the charter of the areas and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, I will put a comment that this depends on that RFC, also that people know what. Yeah. Okay. We discussed last time the Bosch list property validation RFC. There are no discussions at the moment. Should we wait another week before we start the final comment period, or
I believe since the last meeting, he has added some examples. Maybe people can take another look at that.
Yeah, we have now examples in the how the schema will look like for this property spec file. And here's one more complicated example. Yeah, it's verbose, but yeah, this is. Also, Joseph mentioned that there are timelines now. Somewhere we discussed this during the working group meeting, but
timeline there.
Yeah.
So second half of February.
I think this will be the fastest RFC implementation ever.
I know, ambitious.
Yeah.
I'm happy to start the 2-week comment period. There's like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He answered all my questions. Nothing new's come up.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Because the aggressive timeline, I think we have to accommodate that.
Yeah, gotta get going.
Gotta get going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now the new RFC about the multiple GitHub logs.
Yes, thank you for those who reviewed. I think the one thing that I wanted to discuss was, Stephan, you put that contributors YAML needs more structure if we want to manage contributors per org. And then Beyhan, you suggested that we still keep one contributors list and make them members of all orgs. Is that what you were suggesting?
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
My only worry with that is, like, I think the more contributors we have to each org, the more we pay, right?
So Chris is not in the call, but Chris is maybe Ram or Tom knows also somehow. He mentioned in our TOC channel that we will get the open source license for our organizations. And this will be the case for the Paketo and CloudFoundry org. And he was also positive about the Concourse org when it gets into the CFF Foundation.
And that would mean we don't have to pay per user?
I don't know what does it mean.
Because currently we are on a legacy plan and we do pay per user.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I understood, Chris, also that the cost would not be an issue anymore, but yeah, we have to confirm with him. I mean, that makes sense. And there's another aspect, that's the runtime of the org automation, because we are already scratching on the timeout, and we will see. Probably we have to, the implementation has anyway to split it up and do one org after the other. Maybe that works out good, then we are fine. Hopefully we can get it between two TOC meetings, all the orgs updated.
what if it is distributed in different orgs? Let's say the org automation is working in the concourse org for the concourse org, and
but it takes time to assign, let's say, for the 200 something, the 200 something members as org members. That's what takes time.
What I was thinking that the execution time was an issue for the GitHub Actions. Is it then split between the orgs, or how is?
No, I guess we would. At the moment, we set up one org, and we are already at the limit, and we cannot add multiple orgs in one run. That's not possible. But we can, of course, create multiple jobs and run first the CloudFoundry org, and then create the YAML file for the concourse org. The other orgs are smaller, so they will run faster. We can try it. I mean, I would start with a simpler one or with the model that we would more envision. I can also understand Beyhan's comments that a contributor should be a contributor of the foundation and not of a single org. Makes also sense to me.
Oh, you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't think this is, like the most important point, but also worth considering, like, what if in the future we'll have to merge orgs or just like migrate orgs? How having like one approach like versus another would affect that. That's something we're dealing like on our private orgs lately, and that's something to keep in mind too.
I think I'm slightly pro keeping them separate lists of contributors. I'm just imagining like somewhere on my GitHub page, like I start contributing to CloudFoundry and then I see like I'm a member of Paketo and I'm like, what the fuck is Paketo? Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's not true. Sorry, Forrest, but but I could go either way. I'm happy to go with the group with which method we want to take.
It is pretty intrusive, right? Because all these people will get invites to these orgs.
That's right. And you better do not reject them because that stops
you will keep getting them
every time.
And the org automation goes really bad, right? Like, so that's what I'm worried about, right? Like, it's not what people expect, right? And the org automation is pretty sensitive against it. Like, I like Beyhan's, I don't know, like from a philosophical point of view, I like Beyhan's standpoint, but from a practical point of view, I have some concerns, right? Like, it's, I don't know, I'm worried about what that will mean. Like, just, yeah, we will run into all sorts of limits, I'm assuming or suspect. So, yeah. Let's say I probably prefer like keeping it separate as well, just from a practical point of view.
Beyhan, what do you think?
Yeah. I think it will be more complicated, the implementation and users. You have to explain that you are part of the one org. But I'm fine with both approaches. It's I mean, if we see that it's not practical to have the one, we can still go to the other way. It's not like we agree now on the approach and it is the way how it should be.
Just if we start there, we will send a lot of emails to people inviting them to orgs, right? And if they want to be, like, they are basically, from a definition point of view, they are part of both organizations. But like, if they want to have that show up on their GitHub or page profile, they need to add their name to 3 different files, or in one file in 3 different places, right? Like, but then they still show up in all these places, so they can be part of all these orgs. It's just not like we're enforcing that.
Okay, I'll make changes, Stephan, based on what you said, like another header in the RFC about changing this file.
There was another comment below. I think it's also valid.
Yeah, in the past it was implicit which org was the CloudFoundry
Sure.
org, but in the future we should have an explicit list where we say these are the orgs CFF takes care of.
That's a good idea. I'll find a place and add that somewhere.
Or potentially like some branding like could be done, like at least just mention like that this is CloudFoundry, part of CloudFoundry or CFF.
Yeah, in the description maybe we don't want to change org names, right?
Yeah, and I think also we need to be considerate, maybe have Raman use the mailing lists well ahead of time before this is merged to send out heads up to folks so that they'll be aware of these incoming emails, because otherwise I can see an influx of emails to certain individuals and posts on Slack of, were we hacked? Why am I getting this?
Speaking about hacked, that's also an interesting consideration. Like if we're automatically adding people to more kind of organizations that they needed, like in case their account got compromised, that could potentially increase surface of access or attack.
What will increase the surface?
Well, in case like we're adding like people just automatically like to all possible like organizations, like just by default, like because they just part of CFF, like in case their account somehow getting compromised, this would just get this potential access to this.
Contributors
orgs.
don't have any access, right? They just get added to the org, but they don't get like any permissions to do stuff.
That's a good point.
They're just org members. Okay, sounds like we have an agreement here. I think this is a minor thing, or do you need to discuss something here regarding per GitHub org or
No, I like the changes. I was debating over the language there for a bit. So I'm happy to have someone else think of something.
Yeah, I don't know how it works out with the membership. If we now say, what was the second? That's difficult to see because there's a context missing. I think the second one was about member, right? And if we say we want to have it per org, then this is already correct.
Yeah, when contributors are per org or the GPS, this way. Yeah, a little bit lost here. Was it? Yeah, but yeah, we discussed this. I think Amelia, you will take to when it is about membership.
Yep. I'll change the wording and add the thing about members and which works.
Okay, then this is also done, and we have last one. I have been pointed to an RFC with a wrong pull request number. So this is just fixing the pull request of the RFC, which is done by the automation when we generate the number. Thanks. This is about RFCs, RFC status.
Beyhan, I think you skipped over PRs.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Too excited for my RFC. I understand.
Yes. Now we talked about concourse working group, and now let me close a little bit. Sorry, too many open tabs. So this is the RFC, the PR about archiving the Service Fabric repositories. So as discussed at the beginning, people are okay to archive this. Ruben, do you agree with the pull request? Or?
Yeah, I mean, oh, sure. Oh, I need to. Archive. There it is. Yes. I'm already too late, I think.
Sorry, I
No problem.
over voice that you are okay and sit.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So we have here. The addition of temporary admins. I pinged the people to get another approval. So based on our rules, we should have 2 approvals from the working group approvers, sub-area approvals. That's why I propose to wait here until we have that. Here's a validation.
Yep, we had, it was half a year or longer ago, a discussion about repositories, can they be in multiple working groups or not? And Eric pointed out to an RFC which says, no, that's not allowed. And I back then had a to-do on my list since then to add a validation for it, because that's something which should be checked automatically. And finally, I have implemented it. And guess what? There's one repository that violates this rule, but fortunately, it's only one. So for now, this validation just prints out an error message, but doesn't stop yet. But as soon as the single repository, its up runtime interfaces infrastructure is probably by mistake also in the documentation working group, yeah, then I could also do a real check and let then the PR validation fail.
Have you opened a PR for that? How?
Not yet, no. I just wanted to discuss. I have listed it to any other business whether we want to have such a validation. And yeah, then the next step is to clean it up and finally to make the validation really mandatory.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Does it make sense to first do the cleanup?
We can merge it. It's already merged. Okay, it doesn't matter because it just prints out the information in the action. It's not yet the job doesn't fail because of the validation. Yep, I can open a PR to remove the.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Repository. There was no commit, nothing. I don't know. I think it's not needed in the documentation working group. They just need access to the repository, and that's something they get anyway.
Okay.
On the RFC status, I created an issue for the app manifest v2 RFC for tracking the work on that. Yeah, the rest is ongoing. Yeah, I think there is no update here. The issues still nothing new. Okay, then we can proceed to the next agenda point. Any other business? I assume the first one is from you, Stephan.
Ah, yeah, right. The first one is from me. V2 deprecation, my favorite topic. Yep. Yesterday there was CF deployment version 47 released, and that's the first version now with V2 disabled by default. There's an ops file so that operators can re-enable it, and that actually concludes the phase 1 of this RFC. The final step was to release such a version. And according to the RFC, we have now a TOC checkpoint, whatever this means in detail. But yeah, that's why we could talk about it and then do this TOC checkpoint, and then we can enter phase 2.
Maybe
do we need
an action
to ask Greg? Ask Greg what a checkpoint is.
Yeah, we could do. We have Ari work group meeting today. I assume that Greg joins, so I can ask him. We can also wait for a week. It doesn't matter so much when we approve this checkpoint. You can make up your mind. Also see how this version actually works out. So, for instance, in CLI, I know there are issues. We will talk about it later, but maybe other working groups have the same. But at the end of the day, we have now CF deployment with disabled V2.
Yeah, maybe at least we could have like an PR updating the RFC with like some link in the checkpoint to that release that we passed that milestone or something, right? And then we merge that all, and then we have officially we are all aware.
That's a good idea, yeah.
that it happened.
I have an action item that we do this next time. Maybe you can let people know during the ARI working group meeting, and they can join the our TOC meeting. Or
I can also open simply the PR, and then we can do all the conversation on this PR. Whether we have that makes most sense. Yeah, I will do that.
Okay, then. Yeah, start.
Feel like
be
when
nice.
in doubt, as a TOC person, it's always open a PR, right? Like that's
whatever.
Action.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a place to collect what's broken.
Okay, we have this. The next one, the validation, we talked about it. Or is this something different, Stephan?
No, that's exactly what we have talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the one repository that is in 2 working groups.
Runtime interfaces infrastructure. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Maybe just a reminder, last time we discussed that the RFC about bindable secrets. You put us some topic for RE working group meeting.
Yeah, it's on the agenda if there's some progress or whatever we want to do with it.
Yeah, because I just skipped that one today. Okay, then if there is nothing else, we are done for today. Thank you for your time and take care. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.